be discussing my section 2 book, Let's Go for a Drive by Willems. To get started, I'm going to introduce our two characters, Gerald the elephant and Piggy the pig. So in this story, Gerald spontaneously comes up with the idea to go for a drive, and Piggy also agrees, and they both start to get excited. And they both realize that they'll need certain things. They'll need like a map, they'll need some sunglasses, they'll need an umbrella, they'll need maybe some suitcases, some luggages, right? And so each time that Gerald suggests these items, these objects, Piggy runs off. He runs off and he gets the item and comes back, and so they are prepared for their drive. So, but then once they've gathered everything, they realize they're missing the most important thing for their drive, which is a car. They do not have a car. Neither of them have a car. And so this makes them upset a little bit, and they're disappointed that their plan didn't work out. But then Piggy comes up with another great idea, and that is to play pretend. And then at the end of this story, they're playing pirates. All right, so Piggy says we could play pirate, and now they're playing pirates. So they have their luggages and their map, and they're on a pirate ship. Oh my gosh, and I didn't even notice that they're using their sunglasses as an eye patch. Great observations. So it says, who needs plans when you have a pig for a pal? And then Piggy says, "Arr." So that is the summary of the book, and a description. We will now be moving to the description of the visuals. So we can kind of see that on the cover. We see Gerald and Piggy, and they look pretty happy. I think they look pretty happy, and they're looking forward, or they're looking ahead, and it kind of sets the tone as to they're going on an adventure, and they are excited for this adventure. They're happy. And then throughout the story, throughout the book, the visuals are very bold and simple. What I really like about it is is how the characters are bolded, outlined in this very dark, this black outline. It makes the characters pop out more. Another thing I really like is the expressions. The expressions on their faces are amazing. It's very great. Like, I even posted some tabs to show you guys some of my favorite pages. This is one of my favorite pages, is because both Gerald and Piggy are very expressive. I like how his realization of something uncertain, and he's telling Piggy to wait, and he looks like, in this page, he looks a bit like uncertain. He looks a bit scared, right? And then another one of my favorite pages is this one. It relates back to their characters being very expressive and having amazing facial features. And also I want to connect this page to the last page I'm going to show you, how each time Gerald suggests an item, to me it seemed like he was being very demanding. Like, looks like to me he's kind of shouting at Piggy, so he's kind of demanding Piggy to go get it, because he even says get those sunglasses. So to me it felt demanding. But in this last page, I think it's very cute, because yes, again, it goes back to Gerald being demanding, or looking demanding, but then he's being a little cute elephant now. Look at his little smile. He's looking at his friend Piggy. I think that's just a great way to kind of not contradict, but like compare the different visuals. the different facial expressions that has been illustrated and shown to us. So we can see that Mo Willems uses these bold and clear line drawings that are on mainly white backgrounds, right? And the characters and the text fill up the majority of the white background. That's a great thing because then it doesn't feel too empty. It feels very busy on the page. Very busy, very good. And then connecting back to the facial expressions and now adding on to the body language, which I didn't mention earlier, but those two things help communicate the emotions that these characters are going through, that the book is trying to share with its readers. So it also helps early readers understand the story much better. And one more thing to point out are the text. The text is in like speech bubbles, so it kind of it kind of goes back to like a comic strip, and it makes it easy for kids, for students to follow through and understand the story and see who is speaking. And I also like how they have it color coded as well. And then moving on to the genre of the book is fictional, unfortunately. It is fictional and it falls under the children's picture books. It is more for beginning readers, like first, second grade. Yes, between first and second grade. And I would say it does fall under like humor, like in the comedic section of genres. It's written in very simple dialogue, so it makes it very easy and accessible for those early readers. And with it connecting back to it being humorous and comedic, you know, it has that comedic twist at the end with them canceling their plans for going on a drive and just playing pretend. I think that feature goes well with connecting back to real life experiences. And although it's a very simple book for beginner readers, for children especially at that, it's a great book that shows like provides ways for teamwork, flexibility, like and problem solving skills, to, you know, like it shows how those certain things can help you when your plans don't work out, your ideal plans or your initial plans don't work out. Moving on to a direct quote that I like, of course, I kind of had two, but I would say my favorite one would probably be, now that I'm looking back at it, I have more than two, but it's, oh my gosh, well, it's, we have everything we need for our drive except the car. Oh no, there we go. Oh no, we have everything we need for our drive except a car. You know, I like this moment because it's kind of like the climax. It's like the turning point of the book. So it's very silly. The expressions add on to the silliness, and it's very unexpected. I was not expecting that they wouldn't have a car, and I like that little twist at the end, or towards the end. It's also a great way and a great example that models how kids can kind of handle disappointment, and that there's always another positive outcome. So it leads up to like having conversations about problem solving skills and creative thinking. I'm going to get on to some strengths from this book that I noticed. So I would say it's so one strength is that it's very highly engaging for early readers. It's repetitive. It's not repetitive in like rhyming, but repetitive as in like some of the words are very simple. Has predictable text and a humorous twist, you know, with a couple humorous twists, like them having not a car and them deciding to play pirates instead. So it makes it fun to read out loud, and it's easy for children to kind of like anticipate what will happen next. I want to connect it back to it being predictable, like predictable text. So for example, right, so we have that Gerald suggests that they need a map, and in the dialogue or in the text, it's in all caps. He's telling Piggy to get that map, and so Piggy comes back with a map. And I love how in each part they kind of they're kind of singing a song, I guess, either driving and then their object, their item, a map, right? So this then leads to it being repetitive and predictable, because now Gerald says they need sunglasses. So we connect back to the item being in all caps and Gerald telling Piggy to go get the sunglasses and Piggy running out to get the sunglasses. And again, with their little driving and item song. So that is, I just wanted to show you guys that that connects to it being repetitive and predictable. And a couple other strengths are the expressive illustrations. How I've mentioned earlier that the characters, they have very expressive facial features, and so I would say that those expressions help children kind of like infer or like understand the context from like in a certain situation, and their body language too, or the character's body language. And then the dialogue or the text, as I said earlier, is in like a speech bubble format, so it kind of like helps students or children understand like the concept of taking turns and like conversations. And I would also say another big strength is the fact that this book modeled problem-solving skills. You know, when they both figured out that they didn't have a car for their drive, so they didn't give up, they adapted and they came up with a new plan, and they were still happy in the end, they were still positive in the end. And then some weaknesses of this book is that it's very simple, so it doesn't lead on to much, or it doesn't have much depth for older or advanced readers. And I would say that although I love the illustrations, this book is, I think, would heavily rely on the illustration too much, which, you know, connects back to not having much depth, the story not having much depth. So children who kind of struggle with focusing on images, or like deciphering, or not deciphering or anything, but, you know, focusing on images and kind of decoding from that, they might have struggle trying to understand the story, because this story or this book is does have a lot of images, big bold images. Moving on to the age, grade, and grade level appropriateness. For pre through kindergarten, I would say this book is great for read alouds and introducing new concepts like planning and naming items, and maybe counting how many items they thought of. Because the text is short, I think it's a great asset for pre through K, because the short text will keep them more engaged and more focused. For first grade students, at this level can begin reading certain parts of the book out loud to themselves or with an adult, and it can help practice fluency and look out for any sight words that may be in the book. As for second grade, I think reading this book for second graders can help again with like fluency and sight words, as well as kind of like decoding or like breaking down characters and their interactions with each other, and understanding the sequence of a story. I also wanted to point out that this book is I would say this book is it's a very good book for English language learners because it uses concrete, simple, familiar words, and again with the clear, simple, bold illustrations, so it's not confusing and there's no like figurative language. So it's a simple, nice book for English language learners as well. And for the classroom activity or classroom use of this book, a very nice and simple activity I thought of is after reading this book to the students, students can either get into groups or work by themselves, and they would on a large sheet of paper they would draw pictures or like glue down or paste pictures or cut out images, or pasting down the cutout images onto the paper of items and objects that they would bring on their trip, and they would share it with the class. So where are they going, and what kind of items did they decide to bring on their trip? Thank you.